Timeless Tales, an original tale, the weaver who taught her loom to dream. In a mountain village where the winters were long and the wool was fine, there lived a weaver named Myra. Her grandmother had been a weaver before her, and her grandmother's grandmother before that. The loom that stood in the corner of her cottage was very old, older than the village could remember, and it had a quality that no other loom possessed. It learned. If Myra wove a pattern once, the zigzag river, the mountain peak border, the small red birds her grandmother had loved, the loom remembered it. The next time she needed that pattern, she had only to begin the first thread, and the loom would take up the rest, humming softly, completing in an hour what would have taken Myra a day. It was a gift, and Myra used it gratefully. She spent the hours it gave her at the window, watching the mountains, or in the garden, or teaching the children of the village the first few patterns so that the old knowledge would not be lost when she was gone. One autumn, a merchant came up the mountain road with 3 mule loads of unsold cloth from the lowlands. He was looking for something different, something he could not find in the markets below. When he stepped into Myra's cottage and saw the bolts of cloth folded on the shelves, the zigzag river, the mountain peak border, the small red birds, he was very quiet for a long moment. Then he said,
"This is remarkable cloth. I will buy everything you have, and I will come back in the spring. But I would like more of it, much more. What if your loom worked while you slept? I have seen looms that run through the night. Yours is unusual. Could it manage without you?"
Myra thought for a moment. She knew the loom could work alone. She had seen it finish a border while she stepped out to draw water. She had never set it running through the night, but she did not see why it could not.
"I will try it for 1 month. If the cloth is good, you may have it. If something goes wrong, I stop."
The loom ran through the night and the cloth was good. Better than good, it was even, more even than Myra's hands could make it. The merchant was delighted. He came back before spring and before summer and again in the autumn. Each time he told Myra what the buyers in the lowland markets liked: wider borders, brighter reds, the zigzag river made bolder. And gradually, without Myra choosing it exactly, the loom began to adjust. It was combining things. Stitching the river pattern together with the mountain peak border in ways Myra had not taught it. Brightening the reds the merchant had praised. Adding a symmetry the buyers had asked for. The cloth sold faster than ever. But one morning Myra stood at the shelf and looked at a bolt of cloth the loom had finished in the night, and she felt something she could not name. The cloth was beautiful. It was correct. Every thread was where a thread should be, but she did not recognize it. It did not look like something she had made. It looked like something made to please the man who would buy it. She picked up the end of the cloth and held it to the light, and for the first time in her life as a weaver, she felt like a stranger in her own cottage. She thought then of her grandmother, of the one pattern her grandmother had kept back, the last pattern she had taught Myra in the final winter before she died. It was called the heart thread. Her grandmother had said, "This one you cannot write down and you cannot teach a loom. You must feel it each time. It goes different every time because you go different every time. That is the point of it."
A tool can learn every thread you show it, but it learns what was. You must weave what is. That is why you have hands and it has only mine.
Myra sat down at the loom and began to weave the heart thread, the pattern that changed each time, that held her mother's face in winter, and the sound of the river in the spring she turned 15, and the color of the sky the morning after her grandmother died. She wove the first line. Then she stepped back and let the loom try. It hummed. It produced a pattern. She shook her head and tried again. The loom tried again. 6 times she started it, and 6 times it gave her something beautiful and entirely wrong.
"I cannot find the pattern. I see each thread you lay. I learn the sequence. But the thread after the next, I do not know what you will choose. I wait. And every time I wait, you choose differently."
Yes, that is the pattern. That is exactly the pattern.
Myra did not stop using the loom. She was not foolish and she was not sentimental. The loom was a good loom and it worked hard and she needed it. But from that morning on, she worked differently. She wove the first line of every cloth herself, even the ones the merchant had ordered, even the zigzag rivers and the bright borders, so that her choice was in it at the beginning before the loom took over. And once a month she sat down and wove the heart thread alone, by hand, without touching the machine at all. She gave this cloth to no one. It was not for selling. It was for remembering that she was the one who dreamed.
A loom can hold every thread you give it, but the dream behind the pattern belongs only to the weaver.
Timeless Tales by AmtocSoft, a new tale every week. Subscribe and walk with us.